how it affects businesses and the economy at large. Dr. Chijioke Ikechukwu is the Managing Director of Dignity Finance and Investment Limited. He joins me via Zoom live from Abuja. Good afternoon, Dr. Ikechukwu, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Tolu. It's my pleasure.
Okay, just like I said in my introduction, likes of the LCCI, NASIMA, MAN, ACCI, everyone is talking about the implication or the impact of this on the business environment. You are very close to most of the business owners or members of the business community. What are you hearing? What feelers are you hearing? What are we expecting? What implication will this likely have on the entire business environment?
Before this increase, there was already a lot of hardship all over the country. Business owners were complaining, suffering, and the implication was the fact that they were struggling to be in business, especially small and medium enterprises. Right now, with this increase, you see that a lot of businesses are going to be shutting down. Nigerians are going through some kind of hardship. You could see that people are not even able to come to work. You can call your staff, why didn't he come to work? They will tell you that there was no money for transportation. All the transportation costs have all been increased. And so these are all that will be happening right now. And you know, when businesses can no longer afford, or their cost of doing business triples, then it's either they'll be thinking about staying out of business, shutting down, or letting go all staff. So you see that these are all the issues that are happening right now, and that's what we're going to be expecting, except something happens drastically, where indeed these costs come down. Because already, right now, as we speak, even before the increase, the cost of existence in this country went very high, and people are just already struggling. So that is the issue. We need to do something very quickly about it.
Labour and government signed an agreement for 70,000 naira. That's the increment, more than 100% of what they were earning before now. But with this price hike, or this hike in the price of PMS, how do you see the purchasing power, for example, of a civil servant?
You know, it's gone beyond that minimum wage of 70, because even if you triple that amount right now, it's still not going to be enough for the least paid worker in Nigeria. So the situation is just going to be taken beyond, it should be taken beyond minimum wage. Not just that we're going to, I'm not advocating for an increase in the minimum wage. I'm advocating that all the things that are leading to the hardship should be taken under control. We're talking about the cost of transportation. We have to do everything to come down. The first person you interviewed talked about the CNG vehicles that should be flying everywhere, both here in Abuja and in Lagos and all the major cities. Workers and people should be able to enter buses for almost nothing right now with the kind of hardship we're experiencing. So even if you increase the minimum wage by 3 times right now, it's still not going to be enough. So that is not even the issue. The exchange rate that is part of the reasons why the inflation rate is high, we should be working on it, because virtually all the countries of the world are beginning to see their exchange rate go down, and of course inflation rate go down right now. And so we need to see that ours is also going down. These are all the contributors to the high inflation rate and the high cost of living. Of course, we talked about the insecurity that is all over the place, that is actually increasing the cost of food and cost of every other thing. So these are all the things we have to work on. It's not just the minimum wage that we have to deal with right now. We need to deal with all the things that are causing high costs of existence in the country. That's what we have to do.
Interesting stuff. I'd like to ask you this question, Dr. Ikechukwu, as of course, economic background that you have. Looking at smuggling of petroleum products, many would tell you that it looks, or it seems to be so attractive in this part of the world to smuggle PMS. I read a report earlier where the customs were reporting about 170,000 liters just in one space. We've had series of that happening. How do you think we can manage the volume of the PMS we consume in this part of the world, that's in Nigeria now specifically, so that even if government is going to intervene, we know that intervention is just for Nigerians and not for us paying for other countries, as has been alleged in some quarters?
Yes, I want to believe that our borders are manned by the people you call the customs. So if customs on their own say that a lot of these petroleum products go through our borders to other countries, West African countries or other countries of Africa, then they should all resign. That means they are not qualified to do their work. You know, what is that thing they need to do to ensure that nobody crosses the border? So we need to deal with the inefficiency of a particular system, not to blame the pricing on whether there is smuggling or no smuggling. If smuggling does not happen in other countries, why should it happen in our own country? So all the people who are supposed to be in charge of all those departments should be asked to go look for other jobs, so that people who can do the job will occupy them. So that's what we need to do.
Moving on to businesses again. Many have made projections before now. Dr. Kechuku, you understand what I'm talking about. Salaries have been reviewed in some cases, you know, and all of that. Considering this hike, what will a business owner be thinking of or looking at moving forward in 2024?
You know, for every adversity in business, there is always an opportunity. While the exchange rate is very high today, it's an opportunity for exporters. While some other products, there are a lot of items. If you're in manufacturing and your raw materials are mostly imported products, you have to have an idea. Think of backward integration. Think of how to source other raw materials from within the country or other alternatives to these raw materials. I don't want to believe that you should close your business just because exchange rate is high or just because inflation rate is high. All you do is to know that for every adversity, business adversity, there is always an opportunity. Look for the opportunities. Let us continue to look for the opportunities and look for the alternatives in order for us to remain in business. Because when you close your business, you have to ask yourself, what next? So let us continue to look for alternatives, because this is affecting every institution. You can imagine school owners that have a lot of buses that they have, transportation costs has tripled. You cannot pass such costs to parents, because parents themselves are already suffering high cost of living. So you can't even say, okay, parents continue to pay high costs because the fuel cost has increased. So what you just do is just to continue to manage and find alternative means. Of course, alternatives exist. If only we check well, there may be some alternatives that are somewhere waiting for utilization.
Just last month, there was an ease in our inflation figures, and everyone was already celebrating, at least partly, that, oh, it seems like the curve is beginning to drop. We also saw the GDP figures looking pretty good. But many will say that developments like this could erode the positives that we've gotten from inflation figures and, of course, GDP figures. Dr. Kechuku, I don't know how that comes to you.
So you already know, even without hearing from me, that the development that we have right now, where petroleum product prices just almost doubled, will erode all the efforts made by CBN and made by this country to reduce inflation rates. You know, so there are various drivers of inflation. One of them is this petroleum product. I mean, when people compare the reduction of inflation rate in other countries, you have to look at whether they also have the kind of problems we have. Our own economic situations are peculiar. And so one of it is this petroleum product hike. Of course, we talked about insecurity, exchange rate, and these are all the major drivers. So with this increase in petroleum products right now, in prices of petroleum products, we can be sure that all the gains made by the CBN in bringing down inflation rates must have been eroded. And this is actually going to worsen the matter right now. So we need to look for what to do to be able to continue to fight this inflation rate that is already affecting our economy.
Dr. Kechuku, how do we let's look ahead. Despite all of these challenges, many will still tell you that something can be worked out. Now that there's a back and forth with regards to pricing. There's a back and forth regards to the differentials, in quote, subsidy. What do you think would be the way out? Now, suggestions. Are there quick wins? We've all talked about this before. Before this government, many agreed that it was time for subsidy to go. Finally, subsidy has been removed. The FX factor is now trailing us. How do we balance all of this to, at the end of the day, get a positive out of it? Because it's worrisome, I must tell you.
Yes, it is worrisome, but there's always a good news. The good news is the fact that we are a petroleum exporting country. We produce petroleum products. We produce crude oil. And so if we produce crude oil, the oil belongs to us. So for us to say we should float pricing and allow the price to be determined by demand and supply, it's not good for us. If the product is ours, we determine at what rate we just give it to you. All we say is, okay, a particular percentage of what we produce will go for local consumption. And then you price the local consumption so low that it will be okay if our refineries refine and distribute. Even if there are no government refineries that are working right now, we can sell at very lower price to the private local refinery that's already existing right now, so that when they finish, the eventual price that we sold to Nigerians will be far lower than what we call international price. So we should not allow our own prices to be determined by market forces. We shouldn't, because this is our product, we produce it, and it's in our land.
I'm going to touch on non-oil exports because I read a report earlier today that there's a bit of improvement, but it's not up to what I would expect. 6.26% improvement in non-oil. I'm talking about this because we can also get FX from that end to boost our reserves. What do you think? Do you think this government is doing enough regards to trade facilitation across the board?
We have been having improvements in export proceeds in the last 2 years, because once there is high exchange rates, exports will increase, export rate will increase, and the export process will increase. So we've been having that traction in that area. But we can achieve far more right now if we say no more importation of petroleum products, which is actually the highest consumption of our efforts. No more importation of petroleum products. If we say so, we're going to be saving a lot of money, maybe up to 30% or 40% of even what we have been spending on our efforts. So if that is our major FS consumer, why don't we say no more importation of petroleum products while we gain the traction at the export areas, non-oil exports. So it's a combination of improvement in the petroleum product area and another improvement in also growing the export. We can do better in export encouragement, in export promotion. We can do better, but right now we need to look at the major driver, the major consumer of our efforts, petroleum products. We need to deal with it head on.
Finally, CNG adoption. I just got a message, and they are saying that how do you think that public commercial vehicles will readily want to embrace or take advantage of the positives in CNG? It's cheaper, cleaner, and all of that. But do you think cost of conversion is there and all of that? All of this, do you think it will be so easy to integrate? Or how would you assess government's effort also trying to make sure that everyone flows with the tide, moves to the use of cleaner energy? How do you see this helping also in one side for this challenge that we face?
Right now, from the feelers I get, many Nigerians are ready to embrace the CNG conversion.
Good.
Unfortunately, the cost of conversion is too high. So these prices are such that cannot be reached by an average Nigerian. So if we want Nigerians to embrace CNG, we have to do everything to bring down the price, the conversion price rates, so that people can afford it and people will be happy to do so, because it will save them a lot of money and it will save also our environment a lot because of how clean the CNG energy is. So we have to make it affordable. if you put it in above 1 million plus, how many people, how many civil servants can afford it? So we need to do everything to bring down the cost of installing CNG. That's where the main problem has to be.
But many times journalists, we like to ask, are there quick wins at all at this time? Because this seems to be a very, very, I don't know. Are there any quick wins for government in the short while? Say between now and December, this could be done. Between now and March, this could be done. And Nigerians are hopeful that, okay, we know that by December or so, there might be a drop and all of that. Do you think there are any quick wins anyway?
Yeah, quick wins will always exist. The first quick win is to ensure that the product that God blessed us with, crude oil, we must refine it, and we must own it, and we have to make it available to Nigerians at a lower rate. That's a quick win. The next quick win is to ensure also, just like I said, that the cost of conversion of CNG is reduced. That's another quick win. Otherwise, if you want the highest quick win, of course, there are some long-term quick wins. Of course, if they are long-term, they're no longer quick win. We need to deal with issues that we've been talking about. A lot of issues we've been talking about. Insecurity does not appear to be giving way. There may be improvements, but it's not giving way yet. So we need to also deal with a lot of other things. The exchange rate that is up there, what are those things we need to do to bring down the exchange rate? Why is our exchange rate skyrocketing? So I just came back from a journey, and I saw the exchange rate of a particular country, an African country, just about 16 point something, 17 point something, exchanged to $1. And I just said, I could see, because I saw a lot of inflows or people coming from all parts of the world into that country for tourism. So they exchange money all over the place. So even monies that are coming from such tourists will be enough to fund the local need of FX. This we don't have. And one person just asked me, what can I do? What are those interesting places if I come to Nigeria? I found it so difficult to mention. But of course, I try to sell Nigeria. But I can tell you, if we could have many tourists coming to Nigeria, a lot of money will just be coming in that area.
I must thank you for your brilliant contributions as usual to the program. I've been speaking to Dr. Chijioke Ikechukwu. He is the Managing Director of Dignity Finance and Investment Limited. Thank you. Have a great weekend. I don't know if you bought fuel in the new price, but I will buy and see how it goes.
I already bought at the new rate.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you.
All right. Then, well, it's time to talk markets now. And my colleague is already in the studio.